We've been digitally connected for quite a while.
We have.
Will you tell me what's your role at the Netherlands Central Bank, the Netherlands Bank?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a principal policy advisor within the Dutch Central Bank, and this means that I actually look into policy and trying to work on all kinds of cash topics. So especially those strategic studies on cash, like we have done with McKinsey and PwC.
Yeah.
And also working on memorandum of understanding for the cash covenant, what we call it.
Yeah.
So I had a great role in that one too. So I think at the heart of what it's all about in terms of access to cash and also acceptance, and obviously as a Dutch central bank, we're part of the Euro system, the ECB.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interaction with us from the central bank with the other national central banks and the ECB. So because we're not making policy on our own, we have the ECB also doing a great job there. So we have working groups and a lot of interaction there to learn from each other, and that's actually what I'm working on these days.
Yeah. Right. So we've obviously seen a massive change in payments over the last 15 to 20 years in Holland. I can remember, because I'm old enough, when cash accounted for 60 to 70% of payments. And in fact, Holland was probably higher than the European average at that stage in terms of cash payments. That's changed dramatically. But what's interesting that, and this kind of echoes what's happening throughout the Eurozone, and especially what's coming out of the European Central Bank, is that I think there's a growing realization that cash is the European payment method. It's owned by the Eurozone, by the Eurozone countries, and that's very important because all of the other payment methods are owned from out with the Eurozone, aren't they?
Yeah, this is true. So I think still the euro cash it plays a pivotal role in society. Yeah. And in Europe, we're not all the same. The Netherlands is so much different in terms of payment habit. Yeah. From if you compare it to Germans or Belgians or French people. So we need to have different policy there as well. And if you would look at it as a life cycle, I think we are sort of ahead in terms of the use of cash. We went down the last 15 years, I think. At the beginning, we were using a lot of cash, but then we have been working together with parties involved, the representatives of consumers, retailers, the government as well, Ministry of Finance, to actually work together and make it more efficient. So I think it's from 2005 until 2015, we have had multiple cash covenants, agreeing with each other to make it more efficient and to actually advocate for electronic payments. Yeah. And it worked out because you really saw that the number of cash payments declined, number of electronic payments increased, and it made the entire cash system much more efficient. Yeah. That was good. But then there was also this time where it went to 30% of all payments were done in cash. Yeah. Where we decided, well, cash has a unique role in society, and maybe it's good to also keep it this way, or stop promoting electronic payments and basically go for payment choice. It's all about that people can pay in the way they like. Yeah. And this can be electronic payments, but also cash payments.
So in a way, making sure that cash has an opportunity to survive, so it becomes a payment choice, or it remains a payment choice rather.
That it remains a payment choice. So that people who want to access cash, who want to pay with cash, that this is still possible. So this is definitely where we step up in the Netherlands.
So very interesting, when you go around the world now, looking at the UK, but also, as far afield as Australia, they've had real problems with the economics of cash supply, cash circulation. And now, you were mentioning a couple of consultancy companies. Deloitte's are at work in Australia, working out what profit the remaining national cash and transit company are allowed to make, and so that they remain viable and they can keep on supplying. What steps have been taken in Holland on the economics and in the Netherlands on the economics of cash?
Yeah, I think multiple things. Obviously, we have seen the establishing of Geldmaat.
Yeah.
Before that, it was called Geldservice Nederland, which was already a collaboration by banks to make it more efficient. But that was only focused on the back end, where cash processing, wholesale stuff that was being done and merged to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
But then in 2020, banks decided to actually get their own brands from the ATMs and put Geldmaat on it.
Yeah.
And this allowed them actually to also optimize the network to take ATMs away from places
branches.
where you had many, and also from branches.
Yeah.
And put them also in places where there are very few, so in rural areas. So the coverage is like one of the best in Europe.
Right.
But the number of ATMs, it went down enormously.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see. So this on the one hand side, and also in terms of CIT companies, I think 10 years ago we had still 4 CIT companies, and today we have only one big one, and so this is I mean a big thing, because obviously you would like to have a very healthy competition in this market,
but you haven't.
But we don't have it anymore. And somehow you could also say it's like it also makes sense because it's an economy of scale business. There is a push for efficiency, and maybe it's better to have one healthy CIT than have 2 or 3 which are not so healthy. And because if you risk a bankruptcy, one of them, then the impact on society would be much bigger.
Yeah.
So, and I know that in Australia, as you just said, it's you have the 2 CITs, they merged, but it didn't work out well for them.
No,
because it's they have difficulties getting staying alive. The one CIT which is still there. So
I think the geographic distances are one of the problems in Australia. Luckily, neither the Netherlands or the UK are quite as big as that.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting to see how those so the same steps are being made, but then in the end you have a different outcome. And luckily in the Netherlands it worked out well. I think we went to this phased approach where steadily small changes were made to the infrastructure, and maybe also we have a long habit of this consensus model, I would say. We call it the polder model in the Netherlands, where people are sitting together, have a good debate, and then come to a solution together.
That's a great model.
And it works in the Netherlands, but I think it needs to be in the culture as well to make this work. Because if you would suggest this in other jurisdictions, countries, then it's probably not always the best solution. But,
so I mean, it's interesting that we think in the UK that the economics of delivering cash to the public, whether through ATMs or post office counters or cashback, they have to be better considered, and it's not sufficiently considered at the moment. That's something that's obviously been considered in Holland, and steps have been taken to make things more economic so that companies can afford to supply cash. I think that's important. But the other side of it is, which I was quite surprised about, was when it emerged quite late last year that there were steps going to be taken on the acceptance of cash, and that was quite surprising to some people. But can you tell us what's going on?
It was surprising for us as well. As you probably know, there's European legislation, the legal tender status of cash is being worked on, and it also involves a mandatory acceptance law regulation. But then this has been worked on for the last 3 years already, and they're still negotiating to get this done. So we're basically waiting for this, and then suddenly in the House of Representatives, some members of Parliament, they decided to amend this law on AML. By saying, well, if you're going to forbid transactions at the point of sale above 3,000 euros, because this was in the law already, then you need to accept it below 3,000 euros.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
And then no one expected this, but it actually got passed in the House of Representatives. So at a later stage, I think there was still needed an opinion from the ECB, and some other steps need to be taken as well. As a matter of fact, it was the day before yesterday, there was a debate in the Senate, because the mandatory acceptance in the Netherlands, this law still needs to go through the Senate, and so there was this debate, and next week on Tuesday they will vote on it.
Oh, right, okay.
So then we will know for sure.
Yeah.
We don't know the date when it will go live, enter into force, but they still have to work out on those exemptions for when you do not have to accept cash.
Yeah, yeah. When notes are damaged and things like that, and so on.
Yeah, but for retailers, reasons as well, security reasons.
I think they did that in Denmark, didn't they? They have a law in Denmark, but they said that after a certain time at night, if there were particular security issues,
that could be something as well.
Petrol stations and that kind of thing.
So that's going to be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah.
So this order in council, what they call it in the Netherlands, it will be in public consultation after summer with these exemptions, and then everyone can respond to it, and probably it will enter into force, I think, somewhere next year.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, it kind of reflects what's happening in other countries. Obviously, the central bank in Sweden, the Sveriges Riksbank, are now recommending that action be taken to make acceptance of cash compulsory for certain essential products, perhaps. In Norway, it's already the law. In Denmark, although slightly modified possibly over the years. And then, of course, as we get into the Eurozone, some of those countries aren't in the Eurozone. You've got France, they already have laws in place. It was interesting, Visa tried to make the London Olympics cashless, but failed. But they couldn't do that in France because it would be illegal for them to try to do so. So really quite widespread activity around Europe to keep cash acceptance going for the public.
I think it's one of the cornerstones of keeping cash accessible and available, and working properly as a payment method. Because, I mean, acceptance is without acceptance.
What's the point having it?
So
kind of horse and carriage, love and marriage, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the Cash Payments Act, which is on access to cash, this is another legislation which is coming up in the Netherlands. It does not involve the cash acceptance, and it did not from the start. So we're thinking, well, hopefully the European legislation will come up soon enough to also cover this aspect.
Sure.
But now we'll have national legislation first.
Well, in the UK, we had some measures on cash access, including a recent financial services bill, but the government's not yet focused on acceptance. But we're making the argument as a Payment Choice Alliance, well, great, people have cash, but if they're told they can't spend it, how is that giving them financial inclusion, for example? You know, so they really do, as I said, they go together like a horse and carriage. But maybe that's an old-fashioned. Love and marriage is still recognised by most people. Roel, thank you very much indeed. It's great having you here. It's been lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.